We'll go ahead and get started. We've got a big agenda today. We're going to do the full committee first, and then we have a big agenda on the subcommittee. So the first thing we're going to do a few housekeeping matters. House Bill 161640 by until 1:31. Do I need a motion on that? Okay, 1:31 is House Bill 1640. House Bill 2515, Delegate Hugo, he and I have talked about this. It will be assigned to Subcommittee 2. And I think that's the housekeeping measures that we have. We will start off with, yes. Go by for the day. Can we just put that by until 1:31, our last meeting? Or do you think you'll have it, or should I put it before that? Well, let's just put it by till next Tuesday, 1:29. Is that okay? All right, 1:29, House Bill 1661 is by until 1:29. All right, that leaves us with, I want to call. Let's see, do I have Delegate Robinson, Delegate Brewer? Okay. Yeah, Delegate Rasul. Okay. Delegate Rasul, I'd gotten a call that you wanted yours by for the day. Is that correct? Okay. All right. We'll get right back to you here in just a second then. Delegate Byram, you have your subcommittee report. And okay, Delegate Byram has a subcommittee. The subcommittee, I assume Delegate Byram was well attended, and the other assumption I make is that on subcommittees is that you allowed full and complete discussion of the bills, both pro and con. Is that correct?
Yes, it was full and complete.
All right. So therefore, I'm going to ask you to give your report. And I know the first one you have House Bill 1661, but that's been, we won't ask for that report today. I think the first one would be 2260.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2260, Delegate Robinson's bill, would authorize health carriers to offer catastrophic health insurance plans to all individuals. Currently, they're available only to individuals who are under 30 years of age, or who qualify for a hardship exemption or affordability exemption. And the committee recommended 4-3 in favor of the bill, and I so move.
Okay, and this is a bill that we had last year. I believe Senator Sturdivant brought the bill last year.
And Delegate Robinson.
So there was a recommendation 4-3, and you so move. Is there a second? Second. All right, any committee discussion? All right, members wishing to vote on electronic voting board. Maybe. Clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2260 reports 10-7. Delegate Byram.
House Bill 2345, Delegate Toscano. This bill, is introduced, would codify provisions that currently are set out in regulations adopted.
Can we wait just a minute? There is there's a substitute for that, and Delegate Toscano, I do not see him. If maybe somebody could text him and tell him his bill's up, that'd be great. Delegate Byram, why don't you go on to 2639?
Okay, House Bill 2639, which was my bill, as introduced, would require health carriers to establish a shared savings incentive program under which carrier savings are shared with a covered person who elects to receive a covered health care service from a lower cost provider. The recommendation of the committee was to report 8-0. The substitute did not change the purpose or intent of the introduced bill, so I move the substitute, first of all.
I have a motion to move the substitute. Do I have a second? Second. All right, all those in favor of adopting the substitute to get the bill, the correct measure before us, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that bill's before us. Delegate Byram.
The recommendation was to report 8-0.
And you so moved. Do I have a second? Second? All right, they have a second. Any members on the committee wish to discuss House Bill 2639? Members prefer to vote on electronic voting board. 8-0. It was 8-0. All right. Clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2639 reports 19-0. Is that your report, other than delegate?
Other than Delegate Toscano's bill, yes.
Right, okay. Delegate Brewer, you have the foster care security freeze. Is there a substitute on that one?
Yes,
Yes.
and it'll be posted electronically now. I have copies for the members. If
Okay, and it'll be posted electronically right now, so those of y'all who wish to look at it.
Move the substitute.
All right, we have a motion, we adopt substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The bill's before us. Delegate Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Bill 1730 was a recommendation through several different things that came through, especially from DSS. Right now, there is no minimum age for children for credit checks. So unfortunately, children in foster care are the most at risk for identity theft. There are 5-year-olds out there right now that have 5-year credit histories, which is pretty alarming. Over 1 million children nationwide and last year were actually victims of identity theft in foster care. So I bring this bill to address that issue. And if you have any questions, we have a couple people in support of the bill.
All right.
I'd be glad to take any questions you have.
Those, you have some folks in support of the bill?
Yes.
They would come forward real quick. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Allison Gilbreth with Voices for Virginia's Children. We support this bill strongly. We work with several youth who were aging out of foster care, and when they turned 18 to go to apply for post-secondary education, financial aid, and employment, had several issues with their credit, and we believe that putting a freeze on it would prevent that from happening in the first place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Valerie LaRue from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. We also support this bill. About 10% of children in foster care have their credit negatively impact. Putting a freeze on someone's credit now doesn't cost anything, so it makes sense to add this to the current protections that our law provides for children's credit in foster care. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Cassie Cunningham with Children's Home Society, and for the reasons previously stated, we are also in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Todd Gackey with the Family Foundation, and we support this bill.
All right, we got all kinds of people supporting it. This is unbelievable. But, and I support it too, but, here's my but. I support it, but it's going to have to go to appropriations.
Okay.
Because the fiscal impact is like 176,000 general, 241 non-general, and it fluctuates. It's about 92,000 and 134 after that. So that would be the motion if folks are inclined to support the bill. And then I would suggest you talk to Chairman Jones or the chairman of that particular subcommittee. But it would be a motion to report and refer to appropriations.
Mr. Just parliamentary inquiry. If I recall last year, maybe the year before, whenever we had situations like this where we had a bill that had a fiscal impact, we would normally ask as a matter of routine whether there was a budget amendment included. I was just wondering if the delegate might tell us whether
Yes, I
there
did
is a
include
budget
a budget
amendment.
amendment.
In that case, I'd be happy to move to report and refer this to appropriations.
All right, have a motion to report and refer to appropriations. Members wishing to vote on the electronic voting board. Just a second here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, thank you. House Bill 1730 reports and refer to appropriations 19-0. Delegate Rashul now. Rashul? Yes. Hey, House Bill 1635. All right, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 1635 is known as the Off Fossil Fuels Act. I believe that there is a substitute or line amendment.
No, we don't. We're not
Okay.
aware of any.
So maybe it was perfect the way it was.
Sorry.
No problem.
I didn't have it on my notes. I don't have one.
No problem. I thought that there was a technical amendment. What House Bill 1635 does, Mr. Chairman, is, number one, it establishes a moratorium by January 1st, 2020, for any approval of production of energy through fossil fuels and transport. So any new infrastructure projects, there would be a moratorium established. And then in moving forward, Mr. Chairman, we would set the ambitious goal of having 100% renewable energy by 2035. I get to say this as of a couple of months ago. Myself and the President Trump's administration completely agree that you might have heard in November, just 2 months ago, this administration issued a dire warning through a climate study that showed that we have about a decade to try to aggressively address some of the issues that are facing us with regards to climate change. So we've got this awesome opportunity to capitalize on some of the innovation that's occurring, Mr. Chairman, create jobs, boost our economy, while at the same time trying to alleviate some of the issues that were most notably addressed specifically in this climate study that was released in November of 2018. I think a lot of people agree we've reached a critical tipping point, so why not use this as an opportunity to be able to boost Virginia's economy as we capitalize on a lot of this new innovation that's happening. With that, Mr. Chairman, I know that there are several people who'd like to speak on that.
Let me ask you a question. So have you talked to the providers on this? I mean, the 80% has to be generated from clean energy resources. Is that probable by 2028?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe that if as a society we, and as a Commonwealth, we decide to make this type of movement, just as JFK proclaimed at the beginning of the 60s, we're going to the moon, we need to be bold as we look forward. And clearly right now, when we even have conservative entities that are saying, oh, no, this is a problem, why not help to boost our economy at the same time?
Delegate Mullen has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would just say that I spoke with the patron on this bill, and I believe I have a friendly line amendment.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would move that on line 47, under moratorium, that we amend the date from beginning on January 1st of 2020 to January 1st, 2021. I believe that is a friendly amendment.
I have a motion and a second, and discussion of the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed? No. All right. I just believe if we're going to do it, let's do it. But go ahead, 2021. All right, that motion carries. Delegate Rochelle, you had some people. Oh, Delegate Weaver. Sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I'll listen to the testimony before.
Okay. All right. You have some testimony? You have, yes. If you come forward briefly and tell us who you are and why you support it.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jorge Aguilar, and I'm here on behalf of Food and Water Watch and our close to 60,000 Virginia supporters to wholeheartedly support Delegate Razul's House Bill 1635 to move 100% clean renewable energy by 2035. Right now, Virginia has a woefully inadequate plan to source only 15% of its energy from renewables by 2025. That's a preposterous goal, given the estimates how much Virginia can do with just solar and wind. I think the chairman just asked, is this doable? The U.S. Department of Energy actually found that Virginia's solar capacity is 8,700 megawatts, and that its capacity for wind is 89,000 megawatts. The numbers that DMME has thrown around recently as its aspirational goal are 10% of that goal. So we need to do better. I think this committee knows that we need to do better. But I think the most important part of Delegate Razul's bill is that it begins to plan for a just transition. This is going to happen. We know it is. So it's transitioning communities that are most vulnerable. This is what the bill does. It helps those communities, but it also helps communities that rely on fossil fuels right now. It gives them a voice in the process, and we have a real pathway with this bill towards new renewable energy industry that will provide jobs for Virginia. So let's tackle these challenges. I really urge you to vote to pass House Bill 1635.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Christiana Reeder. I'm a member of the Virginia Poor People's Campaign Coordinating Committee and the Environmental Committee of Together Hanover. We wholeheartedly support HB 1635. Our entire state of Virginia is at risk from the impacts of climate change, and Virginia communities, predominantly low-income communities and communities of color, are already suffering the devastating impacts of fossil fuel pollution. Meanwhile, Virginia lags far behind in clean, renewable energy, and our state utility companies like Dominion Energy are expanding fossil fuels at a much higher rate than any expansion of clean energy sources. For example, Dominion is attempting to build the unnecessary frack gas Atlantic Coast Pipeline and recently fired up a new fossil fuel power station in Greensville that has the capacity over 100 times larger than Dominion's proposed wind energy project. This is a major problem for Virginia, and HB 1635, by establishing clean energy mandates and a moratorium on new fossil fuel projects, offers the solution. This bill not only lays the framework for transitioning to 100% clean energy by 2035, while banning harmful fuel projects like fracking and new pipelines, but it mandates that the transition be an equitable and just one. HB 1635 establishes a climate action plan which creates assistance programs for those transitioning out of employment with the fossil fuel industry, supports the development of community energy programs, and ensures that impacted communities, low-income communities, and communities of color would be at the forefront of this plan. The current climate and pollution crisis makes it clear that Virginia must be on the path to 100% clean, renewable energy, and HB 1635 does just that. We urge you to support HB 1635. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Allie Simons. I'm a citizen of Virginia. They say if you're in a hole, stop digging. Fossil fuel is on its way out, and renewable energy has become economically viable. And not only that, it will help us have a cleaner environment, which will save us on a lot of costs, public health, and other issues. If we keep on investing in fossil fuel infrastructure, we're going to be left with stranded assets within a very short period of time. That's going to be an economic burden to taxpayers and all Virginians. So the smart business move is to invest in renewable energy. It will create green jobs and avoid these costs of stranded assets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Karp. I live in Haymarket, Virginia. I am here today speaking to you for all of the children who live in Virginia. I hope you have a moral compass. I hope you have a conscience. We must have clean energy, and we must have it now. This picture I am holding up is what MVP is doing to the environment. You cannot sit here and destroy the future of the children of this Commonwealth. I ask you to please pass this bill now. There is absolutely no reason for you not to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Natalie Pien, and I'm from Leesburg, Virginia. I work with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Loudoun Environmental and Social Justice Committee, the Loudoun NAACP, Environmental Justice Committee, the Sierra Club, Great Falls Group, 350 Loudon, a grassroots organization to try to fight climate change. And I support Samarsu's Bill 1635, and personally as originally written, and I hope you do support the bill as well. It answers so many questions, solves so many problems at the same time. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is David Kubrick, and today I'm speaking on behalf of Our Revolution, Northern Virginia. It's a group of about 500 active citizens in Fairfax, Arlington, Loudoun counties. And we ask that you please pass this bill for the sake of our children and their children. And so let's today do the right thing for future generations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Adam Slate. I'm president of the Thomas Jefferson Memorial Church, Unitarian Universalist in Charlottesville, Virginia. House Bill 1635 is wholly consistent with our faith values, and I urge this committee to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Hoekstra. I'm a resident of the city of Alexandria. I'm supporting Sam's bill. I have solar panels on my roof. I got them installed April of this past year, and I've never regretted it. It was a great decision, and I love them. So I hope you will support this bill. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Stair Calhoun. I represent Network Nova and the Virginia Grassroots Coalition. I'm here to ask you to pass this through committee 1635. Thank you.
And finally, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lorna Charlton. I'm from Henrico. I'm with the NAACP and the Poor People's Campaign. Wholeheartedly support 1635.
Thank you.
I hope you do too.
All right, anybody out there against House Bill 1635? Yes? Let's keep it brief, though.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
I will keep it brief. Mike O'Connor representing Virginia's Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Stores. Last year in September, something happened in Virginia that's never happened in the United States before, and that's a petroleum pipeline closed down, Line 25 that served the Roanoke area, and that brought about the reduction of 501 million gallons a year to that area. That doesn't mean that those gallons are not going to the area. It just means that they're going by transport truck, about 80,000 transport trucks a year. The average price has gone up in the area somewhere between 5 and 8 cents. Back in October, we worked with a group called Kinder Morgan, which operates an alternative pipeline called Plantation that services the area. I'm speaking specifically to lines 57 through 59 of the bill. And Kinder Morgan has planned to increase the volume on their pipeline, so that will bring back about 153 million of the 504 that we lost in September. If this bill were to pass, that plan is out the window. And because of that, the economic impact that would have, the number of transports on the road, we respectfully ask that you to oppose the bill.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Come forward.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Keith Martin with Virginia Chamber of Commerce. As you know, affordable, reliable energy is important to our economic competitiveness. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in 2017, Virginia energy portfolio consisted of 49% natural gas, 34% nuclear, 12% coal, and 5% renewables. Under this bill, clean energy, nuclear is not considered a clean energy source. That is a lot of energy that we would need to replace in the next 10 to 20 years. We think that would be detrimental to our economy and our business climate, so we oppose the bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, John Rust on behalf of Dominion. This is the most aggressive RPS goal as far as we can tell in the country. It's certainly more aggressive than Hawaii. It's more aggressive than California.
More aggressive than California?
Yep. California says they want to be at 50% by 2030. This says we're going to be gone at 0 by 2036. To meet the 80% goal of 2028, we would require solar facilities that are about 8.5 times the area of Roanoke in order to serve. Dominion serves its customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Solar operates about 25% of the time. Onshore wind operates about a third of the time. Offshore wind operates about 50% of the time. The blanket ban on fossil fuels is irresponsible, and it places the reliability of the electric grid at risk. The ban on new fossil fuel generation appears to apply even if the SCC finds that those facilities are necessary to meet the energy needs of Virginia citizens. The blanket ban on maintenance of fossil fuel facilities, including our gas pipeline, puts the safety and security of the electric grid at risk. The bill not only affects electric generation, its limitations on the use of natural gas infrastructure would affect the ability to serve homes and industrial uses that use gas right now. The legislation is not only a moratorium and ban on natural gas, coal, and oil, it's also a ban on carbon-free nuclear power. Nuclear power is not included in the clean energy definition. Right now, we generate about a third of our power with our nuclear facilities. If this bill passes in 2028, we're going to have to close at least one of those facilities. That means a loss of thousands of jobs in Virginia. It also means a loss of a substantial portion of our generation base in Virginia. We would have to close all of our nuclear facilities in 2036 under the terms of this bill. While customer costs would undoubtedly be significantly higher under this legislation, the more immediate issue addresses our ability to serve our customers, to maintain reliable service, which is the cornerstone of what we do. We ask you to defeat the bill.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Childers, how you doing?
Fine. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Harry Childers, President of the Virginia Coal and Energy Alliance. We oppose this piece of legislation. Would like to remind the committee that 70% of the coal produced in Virginia is metallurgical coal. Metallurgical coal is used to make steel. So if you want to make wind turbines, you want to have solar power, you want to finish your General Assembly building, the new building, you want to repair Interstate 81 with bridges, you have to have coal. There's no other way around it. You have to have coal. We submit to you, please let us continue to do coal. It's 70% is metallurgical coal, and a vast part of that is exported. So you would be affecting jobs on the railroad and jobs at the ports if you prevent any more production of coal in the state of Virginia. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Clark representing the Virginia Oil and Gas Association and Columbia Gas of Virginia. I will just associate myself with the comments made by Mr. Rust, but also point out to you that a significant source of employment in Southwest Virginia is the natural gas industry and the production side. And if you look at this bill, this would preclude any further exploration for gas in Virginia. And I would suggest to you that that would cause a significant harm to a part of the state that's already been suffering from the loss of jobs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Mike Carlin on behalf of TransCanada, interstate pipeline that provides natural gas to local distribution companies here in Virginia. We oppose the bill. We believe it will harm Virginia's economic development plans and cause hardship on consumers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. John Garrett Kemper on behalf of Virginia Natural Gas, and we oppose the bill as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Scott McGarry, Washington Gas. Washington Gas is involved in solar and wind in 25 states, in addition to our natural gas utility providing in Washington, Maryland, Virginia. We believe that the choice of our customers, they ought to have a freedom of choice for energy choice. This bill would foreclose that, and so we hope it will be your pleasure to not pass the bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Delegate, you had the, okay, no, you were going to have the last word until Donnie Ratliff got up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Donnie Ratliff representing Contour Energy and Buchanan Energy. We oppose the bill for obvious reasons. It's a job killer for us, and we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, in closing, we need to keep in mind a few things. We've made the case earlier about the need for an aggressive plan and why we can, but also not to discount the innovation that's already happening. I mean, there's battery technology. Sometimes we'll hear talking points about, well, the sun isn't always shining and the wind isn't always blowing. Clearly, with innovation in battery technology in just a few years, we're going to have readily accessible technology even for consumers to be able to store that energy. Certainly, if we put our efforts to it, we can have that commercially viable at a much larger scale. When I hear things like 8.5 times the size of Roanoke, all I think about is jobs. What I see and what I hear is the opportunity to build on a large scale while at the same time helping our environment, the ability to be able to build a whole new infrastructure. Clearly, if members feel as though 2035 is aggressive, then let's build a plan together. Let's make sure that we do have an aggressive plan as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right. Committee operates on a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd speak to the bill and have a motion as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, I want to thank and congratulate Delegate Rasul for this bill. It's a good idea. Obviously, we've heard from both sides on this, and to the extent that this is a bold, progressive idea for where we need to go in the future and setting a policy marker, I think you've done an excellent job in stating so and asking us to take a clear position from where we are and the trend line that we're on to a different trend line, because the only way that we can work with a sense of urgency that we've heard now both from the Trump administration and from previous administrations, and with all the states around the country working on the same goals, the only way we get there is for us to take some dramatic action. I mean, we can talk about renewable all day long, we can talk about new Green Deal and all the other great ideas, but ultimately, if we don't have something that says, here's a deadline by which we have to act, and here's a way that we course correct, I think we'll always be talking about these issues. So to the extent that this helps shake up the business as usual, I applaud that. I support this bill, and I'd like to move that we report this bill.
All right. Have a motion and a second to report the bill. And I would just say, I think we're going down the wrong road here. It's going to be more expensive for our the poorest of the poor. They won't be able to afford the energy, and all the folks are very misguided when they think that green energy is going to be a lot cheaper. But members prepared to vote? Flip bills on us. What bill's up there? Oh, Emily Brewer's bill. Oh, there you go. With amendment. Yeah, there was an amendment. Did we adopt that amendment? Okay. All right, members prepared to vote. All right, motion fails 8-8. I don't know where everybody else was, but
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, we did. Huh? Was it? I think I had that right. Did I get it right?
8-8, yes, sir.
It's still in the committee. If somebody wants to take it up, it'd have to be somebody on the other side, on the prevailing side. Is anybody on the? I think I got that. Did they? I was just what I was. 1, 2. I was trying to count everybody just because they would. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Having voted on the prevailing side by which we did not pass House Bill 1635, I move that we reconsider the vote.
Okay. All right. Since she's on the prevailing side, you voted no, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, since you're on the prevailing side, you're allowed to do that. All those in favor of reconsidering the vote to put it back in front of the committee, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, now the motion's back in for the committee. Is there a motion on the bill? All right, still have a motion to report and a second. All right, now, let's get it right.
Motion to report as amended,
As
and
amended.
if you support green energy, vote green on this.
All right, thank you. If you don't, no, I mean, if you support lower prices, vote no. But anyway. All right. Clerk will close the roll. House Bill 1635 reports 8-7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
And we'll have this discussion on the floor. $22.30.
Give you all a, this is an easy bill, give you all a opportunity to catch your breath, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this bill amends 2 code sections to revise the definition of the term adverse action involving the use of a consumer's credit scores in the rating and underwriting of homeowners and private passenger automobile insurance policies.
This is a Bureau of Insurance bill?
Yes,
Okay.
yes it is.
All right. Are they here?
They are.
And they're supportive of the bill?
They're all in.
All right. Anybody in the audience against the bill? Nobody against the bill? All right, all those wish, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion? All right, have a motion and a second. Members wishing to vote on electronic voting board. Wait a minute, something. You were right, Delegate Bagley. All right, clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2230 reports 18-0. All right, Delegate Heretic, 2284. Debt management plans. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maybe I should let Delegate Bagley do this one, too. Mr. Chairman, House Bill 2284 simply exempts from the licensing provisions of Title 6.2-2000 at SEC for the debt management plans in Virginia to include banks, savings institutions, and credit unions, in addition to the current exemption which applies to those of us who practice law in Virginia. This is supported by the Virginia Bankers Association. Mr. Chairman, I think they're here to speak on that.
I mean, just because we exempt them doesn't mean we're less safe, does it?
No, sir. And Mr. Chairman, I mean, obviously, this chapter sets up extensive application licensing provisions to protect consumers from debt consolidation, debt management plans. Unfortunately, in the enactment, this particular section does have the potential of tying banks' hands, for example, in doing automatic bill pay and similar functions, recognizing, of course, that just like attorneys, banking institutions are highly regulated in themselves under separate sections. So consumers would have every bit as much protection, except albeit in different ways. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would offer the Bankers Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Matt Bruni with the Virginia Bankers Association. We appreciate Delegate Heretic putting the bill in. I think this is just kind of oversight in the regulation 6.2 on these debt management plans. We have similar exemptions on the check cashing side, on money transmitter side. Again, we're licensed and regulated by the Bureau of Financial Institutions, but our concern is, getting roped into these additional requirements. It was not the intention, I believe, of the original legislation. So that reason, we hope you support the bill.
Anybody in the audience against the bill? All right, do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second to report House Bill 2284. Members wishing to vote by electronic voting board. Clerk will, Delegate Coons, close the roll. House Bill 2284 reports 17-0. Delegate O'Quinn, 2298. You can do it from right there if you want to. Doug Yancey's next. Where is Doug Yancey? Okay. Yes, you can do it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have House Bill 2298. So currently, Virginia state law allows for a bank's board of directors to be comprised of 5 members, but also requires that at least 5 be present to conduct the meeting. Thus, you must have all members present, not just a quorum. So this would change the statutory requirements for a quorum to be consistent with federally chartered banks and other Virginia stock corporations by making it a simple majority to conduct business.
Okay. And who's this supported by? Oh, the bankers? Anybody in the audience against this reasonable bill? All right. They have a motion? All right, have a motion to report and a second. House Bill 2298. Members wishing to vote, vote on electronic voting board. I'll wait. Delegate O'Quinn's bank bill. All right, 20-0, House Bill 2298 reports. Thank you, Delegate O'Quinn. Delegate Yancey has 2419. Delegate Thomas, you're on deck. Delegate Yancey, banks, capital stock. You could do it from there if you wanted to. Is there a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members, House Bill 2419 is a very simple fix to the code. Simply speaking, all the bill does is it makes new bank formations more attractive in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Specifically, it just removes restrictions on paying broker to raise the stock, and it removes a requirement on the bond requirement on directors during the formation. That's all the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And I believe we have somebody from the Virginia Bankers Association.
Right. Any questions of the patron or the Bankers Association? Anybody in the audience wish to be heard for or against House Bill 2419? All right. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second to report. Members wishing to vote, vote on electronic voting board. David, you want to vote on that one? Clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2419 reports 21-0. Delegate Thomas and Delegate Toscano, you're our last bill for full. Delegate Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I'm presenting House Bill 2577. House Bill 2577 would require health insurers, health care subscription plans, and HMOs to provide coverage for the diagnosis and treatment of autism spectrum disorder in individuals of any age. Under current law, autism coverage is for children ages 2 through 10. According to a January 2013 report from VCU, many people who are diagnosed with autism are not diagnosed until they're 6 or 7. So as you can see, under current law, they may only have 2 or 3 years of coverage before they're forced to pay for this out of pocket. No other prevalent health condition, including asthma, diabetes, or cancer, has coverage limits imposed simply by age. Rather, it's based on medical necessity. So House Bill 2577 is an attempt to treat autism spectrum disorder in the same manner. As noted in the impact statement, there is a small increase to the state health insurance fund of about $43,000, and DHRM has said that they will absorb that within their existing budget.
But it still has to go to appropriations, you understand that? Because it does cost some money. All right, anybody having questions? So we expanded this, how long ago?
I think the first one was 5 years ago when there was the first one. Then we went to age 10. There's been some discussions about going to age 18.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the fiscal impact is so low is because the money did actually make it into the budget last year for that, but this policy discussion hadn't taken place. So that's why we delayed the implementation there so we could have this discussion. There's a little bit of data.
So 2015, we went to age 10, I think. Okay, so, all right, and your bill is unlimited.
It removes the age cap. If you're curious on what the impact is above 18, DHRM also notes that through the ages of 19 and 21 in that window, the typical service is 3 hours a week. When you're very young, it's typically very intensive, 40 hours a week, everything from pharmacy to behavioral treatment. As you move along the spectrum of treatment, that reduces, and they note that typically most autism treatment ceases at the age of 22. So beyond that would be, it could happen, but it would be very, not in the mainstream of what we're seeing under the current data.
Thank you, Delegate Thomas. Do you have anybody that can speak briefly in favor of the bill? You have some people who want to speak briefly in favor of the bill? Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa Champion with the Virginia Autism Project. I want to thank you all very much for considering this. This is time for this to happen. We've worked for a long time on this. The fiscal impact is low, and families deserve this for their children and adults.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Kate Fletcher. I have 3 children, all diagnosed with autism. My oldest is 11. He's already aged out of the current law. So once he hit his 11th birthday, he still had autism, but our insurance no longer had to cover his treatments. And as Delegate Thomas referenced, it's not nearly as intensive as what he was receiving, but as he enters adolescence and middle school, he should still have access to those life-changing, for our family, behavioral and therapeutic services. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Mark Lobel. I'm also a founding member of the Virginia Autism Project and founder of the Virginia Autism Foundation. But more importantly, I'm the grandparent of a 14-year-old child with autism, one that was completely nonverbal at 4 and 5. We were fortunate as a family to be able to get him the services that his doctor prescribed. He actually led us in the speaker's press conference the other day in the Pledge of Allegiance in support of this bill. So to watch him go from nonverbal at 4 or 5, not being able to sit in a chair and not be able to take any type of direction from anybody sitting in front of him without giving him a headbutt or a kick of the boot or rolling on the floor, to see him standing up at a press conference and leading at least 100 people in the Pledge of Allegiance is pretty darn spectacular. So autism doesn't ever go away. The treatments, as they get older and older in life, become less of a need. He needed 40 hours of behavioral intervention when he was 4 and 5. He gets about 5 hours a week now. I predict he'll need no behavioral intervention services within the next 2 to 3 years. We would appreciate your support on a much-needed bill.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak against the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Nicole Riley with NFIB, representing about 6,000 small business owners. We have had a long-standing policy in opposition to mandates in the health benefit arena because of what that does to our members who participate in individual, small group, and large group. My 2 concerns with the bill today that's before you, number 1, it has no age gap. So we are concerned about the fact of how much utilization will be done over the age of 18. That has been stated as an age that typically folks, kind of age out, so to speak, of taking these services. Second of all, I do still have members that are in the large group, and so I'm here to represent their interest as being, at this point, the only ones that are kind of saddled with this type of expensive mandate. So for those reasons, we oppose the bill.
All right, thank you. Anyone else oppose the bill? I think there's one more.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Doug Gray, Executive Director of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. I want to clarify a couple things. Autism is a biologically based mental illness. All health care for autism is included as a mandated benefit for any age and has been always. It's been in the code. What the limitation is that this bill is trying to address is the specific provision related to applied behavioral analysis, which is a specific service which has been capped at $35,000 a year and had an age cap. So if you were to move the age cap from 10 to through age 18, you would be comparable with other states, and I think you would encounter less opposition. Having it unlimited, any age, is something different than what has been discussed in the past and what is a standard approach. But I wanted to make sure you understand the difference between coverage for medical services for autism, which have always been covered. It's a biologically based mental illness in the code, and it has been for many, many years. What this is about is just the specific service of applied behavioral analysis and moving the age cap from through age 10 through age 18, which is, by the way, what the state health plan does. So if the state health plan is already through age 18, and this were to say through age 18, I don't think you'd be going to appropriations. That's the difference. So I think there's a pretty clear path for this, if you're ready to move it to 18, to go straight to the floor. That's up to you to decide as a committee. But I just wanted to make sure you understand the facts of the issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Delegate Thomas?
Just for the committee, we're certainly all I'm a small business owner myself, and we're certainly very aware of the cost. So it was one of the first things I asked as we move forward with this idea. After that initial mandate was implemented, the State Corporation Commission, in their biannual report to the General Assembly, was able to give us some numbers on, remember, these were the people that are very intense. They were getting 30 to 40 hours a week of service. The impact on total claims for those autism-related services was 0.03%. So when I saw that even with the people that needed the most service was such a small number, I felt comfortable in moving forward with it. So I just wanted to make sure you had those numbers.
All right. Anybody on the committee have any questions, motions, et cetera?
Move to report.
I have a motion to report and a second. To report and refer to appropriations. All right. Members, which there. All right, clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2577 reports and refers to appropriation 22-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Delegate Toscano. And I think there is a substitute on this one.
Mr. Chairman, you may recall that Delegate Byron, in giving the subcommittee report on the meeting of Subcommittee 1, was suspended because Delegate Toscano was not here. I don't know if she wants to finish that first.
Right, yes. You want to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if his amendments that he has change much in the bill.
I don't think it changed.
If I might explain, and it's really important because some of this
Probably
is,
just as quick, Mr. Chairman, for him to do his quick explanation.
if we could have the substitute adopted, and then I can sort of speak to it.
Move the substitute.
Second.
All right, have a motion on the substitute and a second to adopt the substitute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion, the substitute is forced.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I thought it was really important to take the time so that people knew, even with all the words in the substitute, essentially it's getting at really one issue, that when the subcommittee approved this bill, which was designed to give the Bureau of Insurance some additional teeth in terms of how they handled health insurance rates, inadvertently in the original bill was a reference to property and casualty insurance. And we didn't want that in the bill. So what Professor Munyon did in his most capable fashion was to fashion a substitute that took those things out, and he had to essentially rewrite it in a little different way. So you see a lot of words on a piece of paper, a lot of new words. No, not a lot of new words. It just, they're all underlined though. But it doesn't do anything. But what it does from what the subcommittee approved was to simply remove property and casualty insurance. Right, Mr. Munyon?
I won't take credit for that. Mr. Beatty behind you from the Bureau of Insurance pointed out that where the bill was placed was not where it actually belonged if it was intended to be limited solely to accident and sickness insurance.
Yeah. But we didn't want to put property and casualty insurance into the bill.
Has the Bureau looked at it and now are okay with the bill now? That it does what it's supposed to do?
And what it, again, was intended to do is to give the Bureau of Insurance a little more teeth in how they regulate health insurance premiums and how they could look back at premiums that might not have been justified by the medical loss ratio and provide some relief to consumers. That's what the original bill did.
All right. Anybody in the audience wish to be heard for or against House Bill 2345? They're lining up. If you could move out of the way, David. If you just, oh, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I got you.
How'd you like that double take?
Oh, yeah, I had them there for a minute.
Move to report.
Move to report.
I have a motion to report in a second. This was fully heard in subcommittee and had to do some wordsmithing. So, members wishing to vote by electronic. Clerk will close the roll. House Bill 2345 reports 23-0. That is it for the full committee. Now we have a full docket for the subcommittee. So give us just a few minutes while we move things around up here, and we'll get going with Chairman Hugo's subcommittee.